Well, good morning. So it is Thursday morning. It's a little gloomy. Energy level, I told Bruce he was going to have to ramp it up for me because I'm feeling a little low energy. And I've already had 3 cups of coffee. So I figured a 4th would actually be the wrong decision to make. So I'm just sticking with the energy level I've got right now. So I'm personally excited to listen to what Bruce is going to share with us on how to structure that really I don't want to say intense, but effective, how to structure an effective day so that you get accomplished in the first 4 hours what you need to continue to move the ball forward. So Bruce, we're going to kick him off in about 30 minutes. We're going to do a quick market update. But why don't we introduce you? Well, we've got a couple minutes. We're going to get started about 5 after. Let everybody kind of roll in. Why don't you give a highlight into what, a teaser, if you will, into what you're going to talk about today?
Yeah, the teaser is, the number one missing structure or the number one challenge that I hear small business owners have, whether you're brand new, you're a top producer, is just time management and time block and consistency within that process. So I'm going to break down what I created as the 4-hour workday. And this has been super fun for me because it's not only has it changed my life, but it's changed thousands of people's lives all over the country, all over the world, just by following this simple 4-hour workday blueprint. So super excited to be sharing that with everyone.
Us too, because it's so easy to get distracted, right? Besides all the disruptions that are coming into the industry, it's just been a very distracting year, but it's also been a very blessed year when it comes to real estate. So we've all been busy and we've been trying to get our feet back up underneath us and deal with the emotional and the mental stress and strain that this last year has brought in with it, along with a booming housing market. But we also know that we're going to have a lot of business over the next couple of years, really could be the next couple of decades based on birth rates. So better get organized. Better get
Absolutely.
right? Do it now. All right. Well, it is a couple minutes after 10:30. Bruce, you're always a blast. You're always high energy. This is going to be a lot of fun. Just learned that Bruce just moved to Austin, Texas. Not that matters anything because he travels all the time. But I graduated from UT Austin. Love Austin. And I have to admit, I'm a little jealous today. So thanks for starting us out that way.
I do what I can. So yeah, I'm super excited to be out here in Austin. That doesn't mean anything, because I have so many Colorado friends that I'll be coming back to. Colorado is still one of those destinations to where if I get a week like in between events, I'm like, where do I want to go? It's typically back to Denver anyways.
Right.
Because of that. But yeah, I'm just excited to come out here and continue to grow as we expand our message too.
Yeah, you've been doing some great work with some larger groups doing coaching. Do you coach individual realtors since we're on here and talking? Is that something that you're open to, or do you do more of the larger platforms?
We do the larger platforms. We do have a real estate certification course, though. That's a 6-month-long course that people can go through. And that includes Monday morning accountability calls and then monthly live webinars sort of like this with open office hours. So that's a brand new program that we've actually launched. It's just really hard, honestly, to do the one-to-one coaching. I know it's super important. And I do believe that, everybody needs a coach in life. But as a one-man band, it's just hard for me to do the one-to-one coaching. So the next best thing is you get more of a discount, but you also get all the wonderful tools that I've created anyway. So it's kind of a win-win. I
totally agree. And that's on your website then. So people can take a look at that. Yeah, no, I have 2 coaches one-on-one. I clearly need some help. But you're right. I mean, that individual coaching is so paramount to having success, but just having somebody feed into you, even if it's in a group setting, makes a difference. It makes you think differently.
Yep. And just like in the group setting too, just having a community of people too, that's a huge part of this. Is I'm sure you're on different groups and Facebook and all that, where you have a community of people. And that's really what we're growing for anybody that's in a commoditized industry, right? I define a commodity as it's something of value as a consumer. I know I need it, but I think I can get it from anywhere, or I think I can get it cheaper, right? Like I always use the analogy. I literally, as I show my bottle of 7-Eleven water here, right? Like when I go shopping for water, I don't go for Aquafina or Smart Water. I'm like literally looking at what's the cheapest water price, right? And so that's a commodity. And in all of our industries, we never want to be treated like a commodity though.
That's spot on. That's spot on. Because we have disruptors in this industry right now. I know as a lender, I have for years. Realtors now do as well, who want to commoditize it, right? Who want to actually capitalize on the commodity aspect of it. And so you have to constantly fight that and make sure that the distinction is there and how you present yourself, the marketing, the value add, all of that, the service levels.
I think that's like literally one of the most important things. We're going to talk today about the daily disciplines, but just not treating yourself like a commodity. We all heard the expression, we encourage what we allow. So if you position yourself as a commodity, then you're allowing other people to treat you like a commodity. And that is not going to serve you well, not only short term, but for the long term.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, on that note, let's jump over to the market updates. We're going to keep this a little bit tight. I've been talking about some topics lately around, where's the money coming from? All of these over asking prices. When is it going to slow down? What's it going to take to make it slow down? Because we're not going to get the inventory we so desperately need. Regretfully, builders can't keep up. And with the increased cost of steel and lumber and experienced labor, they're just not able to keep up or provide the kind of supply that's going to make a difference in the market. And so people turn to foreclosures. Will that provide inventory? And no, that won't either. The numbers keep showing that the foreclosures just aren't there. I mean, there's some opportunity for foreclosures, and the fact that I said opportunity for foreclosures in the same sentence, but there's some, because we're all thinking supply, right? But there's some indication that some people will have that, especially FHA loans where they don't have any money down or any equity in the home. But even those numbers are dwindling. So I'm going to show you what those numbers are dwindling to, what we might see as the turnabout for the demand, which is going to allow the supply and demand equilibrium start to rebalance. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, and it might not even be back to what it was immediately. But what our normal isn't going to go back to what it was either. These new normals, new definitions. And you have to also remember too, Denver isn't really a balanced market, never really has been. It's a seller's market. It's just a matter of how extreme of a seller's market is it? And right now, along with a lot of the rest of the country, it's a very extreme seller's market. So even pulling that back to slightly less so balanced, forget about it. Let's not even think about that. How do we just make it a little less extreme so that there's maybe 10 offers and $10,000 over, not 25 offers and $150,000 over? Or worse, and you've seen that. So let's jump over to the slide presentation. We'll run through the market updates. We'll bring Bruce back on. We'll get him into the 4-hour workday, which, as I said, I'm looking forward to watching as well. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to jump on in. Okay. So I always start with a quote because it's kind of what I do. I need to. It's become a thing. Need is a relative word. So here's the quote that kind of impacted me today, right? So courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow, right? I'm going to get up and I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I loved this quote because some days you just feel so beaten down, but I actually love this quote right now from the perspective of the first-time homebuyer. It just really struck out at me because I know we've been working through trying to get those first-time homebuyers under contract, especially the first-time homebuyers who are FHA or down payment assistance or minimum down or don't have the money to do the appraisal gaps or put in over asking. So we're all trying to get creative, right? We're all trying to go, okay, well, maybe we drop down in price point so we have some ability to lift up the offer price, or maybe we look outside of our favorite areas and go to maybe a slightly off area that might have some more opportunities, or can we get a gift from somebody, or can we move them from FHA or VA to conventional? I mean, we're having these conversations constantly. And at the same time, there's a lot working against the first-time home buyer. I shared on the market updates in the last couple of weeks, some of the changes that they did. We all know now about the 7% limitation to the number of loans sold to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are second homes investments, right? That's kind of come and gone. That's a new cycle. The next one that's coming up before July, it has to happen per the preferred stock plan with Fannie and Freddie, is this change that's going to directly affect first-time home buyers. And it's that change that says if you fit into 2 of the 3 guidelines of do you have, is your debt to income ratio over 45%? Do you have less than 10% down? Or is your credit score less than 680? And if 2 of those 3 things are true, then Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are limiting the purchase of that bucket of loans to 6% of all of the loans that they're purchasing. So that's going to limit the number of first-time home buyers we can get in, and or really it's going to limit it through increased interest rates, right? So now all of a sudden more people are going to be going to FHA because that's where the better interest rate is, or that's where really automated underwriting is already starting to strip some of those buyers out. Where if you talk to any lender, we're already having a harder time getting some of those borrowers, approved through the automated underwriting system for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And we need to do that because they'll start limiting the manual underwrites on those. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, right, the jumbo market is actually opening up. It's becoming more of the favored child, where we have 10% jumbo loans. We have 95% first and second loans where you can buy a jumbo. Our credit score just went down from a 700 all the way down to 620, although those interest rates would be awful, but you can do it, right? And now we can do investment jumbos, and all these things are opening up rapidly as the risks have all been assessed and people are back to work and people can pay back loans, and it's determined that we can offer those loans again. But those poor first-time home buyers, when I read this quote, that is all I thought about. It affects us all to get up again and put our feet on the ground and trudge into whatever it is that we're facing. But the first-time home buyers really need every little bit that we can help them with. So let's jump into what's going on in the market. Of course, is an update. Oh, let me forward this. Sorry, I was forwarding the other slide. So we've got Bruce Lund today. You already know that. Very excited. He's going to be starting off here in about 20, 30 minutes. Next month, we've got Eric Thompson doing a 2-hour CE on wrangling the power personality. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We've all had difficult clients. We've all had difficult, if you say you haven't, you're lying. We've all had difficult clients. So how do you wrangle the power personality? What are the negotiation tactics for that? In June, Ryan Leak is back. Ryan Leak is such an amazing person. He is such an incredible human. Cannot wait to have him come back. In fact, he was here at the beginning of the year, kicked us off. He was going to publish with his book. So those people that join us in June will be getting a copy of that book that he was talking about in January's Agent Ignite. And then July, couldn't be better timing. Tracy Wilson's going to be talking about 1031 exchanges and what's changing, what you need to know and take advantage of. With everything going on with the tax laws and the changes coming up, of course, nothing is set in stone yet. It's all being forecasted out, but he's going to be able to share with us what you can expect with the 1031 exchanges. So let's talk about what's being said in the news, right? Because the market, what is going on specifically in the market? The economy is getting stronger, right? Inflation just came out higher. We expected that, right? Interest rates took a little dip. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I really want to talk about 2 articles that came out this week that are affecting, or I should say, making our buyers and our sellers maybe question, right? Like, is it becoming unaffordable? At what point does that tip over? So this article was written talking about the affordability crisis, and it actually pinned out Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado was in the top 4 of unaffordable, right? Tipping towards unaffordable with the rise in the sales prices, in the rising of the interest rates that we were feeling. As a comparison to the longer average numbers, we were starting to see an extreme. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, right? But as this is getting broadcasted, how real is this? So CNBC actually spent a lot of time 2 days ago talking about the risk of affordability, especially as interest rates are going up. Inflation just came out, and that's why they started talking about it. So as they're sharing that the inflation was so much higher and all the prices are going up and the interest rates are going to start going up, they didn't really think about the fact that we were just comparing it to last year. And we've talked about this a lot. We were expecting the inflation number to go up because year over year, I'm comparing it to down months. And then I also have those, like last year, April, our core inflation was negative 0.4%. So as I compare it, even a positive 0.3 seems like an extreme. But then also next month, as that negative 0.4 rolls off, my 12-month average also goes up because I don't have that anchor at the back end. So both of those things, we're expecting not only inflation to go up this month, we're expecting it to go up again next month. And it's somewhat expected. It is expected, 100% expected. we actually saw the interest rates didn't go up because of it. In fact, they went down slightly. And a lot of that had to do with Johnson & Johnson, right? Because that came out the exact same morning as the heightened inflation. So when Johnson & Johnson came out, they had said that, we all know, the FDA put Johnson & Johnson on hold. And because of that, the rolling out of the economy and getting out all of the vaccines did a little number on the markets, and it actually backed our interest rates down. And you hate to do that on the back of bad news, but it is what it is. And people were afraid that the herd immunity might be delayed. Ultimately, it's not going to be. I know that everybody swept in, and any Johnson & Johnson vaccines that were scheduled were just swapped out for the other two options. But this is something that affects our secondary markets and our 10-year treasury. Our 10-year treasury broke below 1.6. Great news, kept our rates down a little bit. This is not an expected long-term trend. This is one of those things that how many people are under contract right now? Can we lock folks in before it starts turning back upwards? But the bottom line is that inflation conversation led to an affordability conversation, right? And they're not talking about all the pieces to the puzzle. And this is where we step in. This is where we have to be in front of our clients talking about the fact that I get that you're reading these articles, but this isn't the only thing that's going on. You have to also think about not just the interest rate, not just the sales prices, but you also need to think about wages. And in fact, this is something that I was looking at. If I see a 10% increase in prices, and that is actually our appreciation that we are seeing right now in the Denver market. When I look at like DMARS reports or any 11 county or 7 county reports, and I look at median or average price growth, that's going to be higher, double digits. And I'm going to show that in a second. But if I look at a 10% price appreciation year over year, and I take a $600,000 home and I'm putting 10% down as a buyer, right? That home price monthly budget. So my home price went up $235 a month. My P&I did, right? But if I take 5% wage growth, which is what Colorado's seeing over 5% annualized average weekly wage growth. So when we are seeing over 5, it's around 5.5, that 5% on a $65,000 salary is an additional $270 a month. So they're actually riding together. We're not stretching this unaffordability. And remember, typically, not always, you have 2 wage earners in a home affording that monthly payment. So it's a conversation that's going to need to be had. I am not dismissing that conversation. I'm saying it's not yet. We're not there yet. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people coming into the market. And who is coming into the market and how is that affecting? So this is a very interesting conversation. And I really want to make sure that you're having this because the dynamics aren't just about, is it affordable based on my monthly payment going up? The dynamics are also around who's buying these homes, right? So this is something, an article that just came out showing Coinbase, which just went public yesterday, if you guys were watching that, right? And so Coinbase just went public. But you could buy shares of it, Series A, and Series B, and Series C. And so the value of those is kind of by year. So if I just look at even last year, it was $28 a share. It is going now for $381 when it went live on the NASDAQ yesterday. So it went from $28 last year to $381 a share yesterday. So my son, we all got the stimulus. Well, we didn't all get the stimulus checks, but a lot of people got their stimulus checks. My 3 kids were 3 of them. They've had jobs and been on their own taxes for a while now. And so my 3 kids each got a check. My 23-year-old son was talking to one of his best friends who was trying to nudge him to buy Bitcoin a year ago. He didn't do it. I didn't do it either. Because he said, Mom, you got to do this because they're talking about it. I'm like, no, I don't believe in this. So a year ago, he put $10,000 in Bitcoin. That kid now has $200,000. And he's not alone, right? Because we're all talking about Robinhood, right? We're all talking about Reddit. We know that he's not alone because you have all these kids who had been before. We would have said that they were gigging it, right? Maybe they didn't have that steady job. Maybe they weren't able to afford those homes. Well, one of the things that they were doing during COVID was checking out this opportunity that they've been presented. right? And they were putting a little bit of money in there. And if the millennials are putting money in there, now all of a sudden they have something that really doesn't have value the same way I might look at $200,000 that I scrimped and saved over the course of maybe 5-10 years, depending on my station in life, and put that away for something big, whether it was my retirement or the down payment on a home or what have you. But that kid who's 23, and I have a number of millennials in my office even, and some of them are saying, hey, I've done pretty well in the stock market or in Bitcoin this last year. I listen to what you say. I'm totally bought in the powers in real estate and the opportunity. I'd like to take some of that money and I'd like to put it into real estate. And not only am I super excited about having that conversation, my jaw drops when I realize there's opportunity here if we stop thinking and about them as gig workers. We have to have conversations to go, how have you done in the stock market? Have you invested in Bitcoin? What would it look like if we took some of that and put it into something that's secure and stable? And you know that I can set up a retirement plan for you where maybe you have $10,000 or $20,000 a month in income called rental income when you retire. What if you just did that and then you were able to do other things right now and not take that job that you really didn't want but paid well? Right? Because you knew your retirement was being taken care of. I mean, these are the conversations. It's different than just, is it affordable or is it not affordable? Maybe it's getting less affordable, right? But maybe that doesn't matter as much because I've changed the conversation. Interestingly enough, SmartAsset just came out with their 21 version of their report. They do it every year. They just came out with their 2021 version at the end of last month, beginning of this month. States where millennials are moving, Colorado is number 2. So this is really a conversation that we can be having, should be having, right? So Colorado saw the second biggest net gain of millennials, but also had the biggest percentage increase of 2.21% year over year. Colorado's millennials make up 23% of our population. We're the number 1 dense population of millennials. So as we look at that and we break this down to the city, Denver ranks number 1 of all the cities across the United States. So millennials are moving out of New York City, Chicago, LA, San Diego, Boston, Miami, and they're coming to Denver and Colorado Springs. That's where they're coming in from. So Denver claimed the number 1 spot on the biggest net migration of millennials. And then Colorado Springs is number 5, right? In Denver alone, so not Colorado, in Denver alone, millennials make up 32% of our population. In Colorado Springs, millennials make up 23% of their population. This is a big bandwidth. This is a big movement, right? And these guys, not all of them, but a number of them have opportunity to put $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 or $200,000 dollars down on a home and not get a gift from mom and dad, right? So are we opening up that conversation? Are we asking them? And I don't need you to get knee deep in their financials. I'll do that. So just send them to me. I'll ask them all kinds of personal questions and have no problem with it, right? But this is the opportunity to open up the door for more conversations, bring in more clients. Not like we need more demand, but we do want to have those conversations to continue because the supply is going to start to balance out. It will not stay and cannot stay this extreme forever. We already know that. And we'll start to see that this summer and mostly in the fall. So the other headline that I wanted to highlight was, when is the housing market going to crash? So really interesting statistic on this one on the Google. So last week, Google reported that question in their search bar went up. It spiked 2,450%. That's like not a little, is all I just kept thinking when I read that article. I was like, that is not even near a little. That is a huge concern for a lot of people. This is not just because I've had countless conversations with my partners, my real estate partners, my lending partners, whoever, talking about, well, it's not going to crash. Everybody knows it's not going to crash. Clearly, not everybody knows it's not going to crash. So can you write up a blog? Can you do a video for your database? Can you put together a little piece and email it or mail it out? Can you let people know that they're good? Like getting into the real estate market right now, or maybe buying up or whatever that, or diversifying and buying investment or buying a second home. Now is the right time to do that. because it's not going to burst. It's going to slow down, but we're not going to burst. And there's reasons why. So when we saw that, the second Google search that did a huge jump is how much over asking should I offer on a home in 2021? That search went up 350%, which isn't quite as big, but dang, it's pretty big, right? So to have that Google search also going up, so that's what's on people's minds. How long can this go on? How high can the prices go, right? That's what they're thinking about. When will this end? Am I paying too much? For all those people that didn't make the 200,000 in the Bitcoin, who are looking at really hard-earned money that's sitting in savings, it's hard to offer 50,000 over or 100,000 over if you don't understand that the market's not going to retreat. It's simply going to slow down. So let's look at a couple of those numbers that are kind of freaking them out, because this is something that's going out in the news cycle, right? When you're seeing something like 12.3% on the closed median price, DMAR put this out, last month it was like 17%, 15% increase in the average. Now that's just I'm taking this 1 month and I'm looking at this 1 month last year. So it's just a spot check, right? So I'm doing a month over month and a year over year. What I really like in the DMAR report that comes out every month is the year to date. It takes out the ebbs and flows. So it's where are we at this point in the year, right? And of course, as the longer the year goes, the more tight that number gets to being what the annual number will be, right? But what is my year to date? So if I had a slow January and February started ramping up and March started ramping up, I'm seeing where is this number sitting now compared to other years at this point in the year, right? And now we're looking at 11%, which is much more in line with what CoreLogic is saying the Denver market is seeing. And interestingly enough, our closed is almost smack on par with where it was last year. We're gonna have another good sales year, even though we don't have any inventory. We're down 66%. CoreLogic says the Denver Metro has actually appreciated. And remember, they look at the individual houses, and every time that house is sold, it's a data aggregation, and they take all those homes and they are able to look at neighborhoods and counties and cities and states in the country. And they're saying that Denver is appreciating year over year based on all the sales at 10%, which is extremely healthy, right? I mean, I'd love it to be 6%. But it's not the 15 or 17% in real appreciation, because those medians and those averages are all based on what's selling that month. So these are the conversations. Okay, so how out of control or how out of the market are we? Well, let's talk about that. And then let's look at your wage increases, and let's look at the opportunities that maybe you did in Bitcoin, or let's look at what you can expect as far as your wage increases in the next year. Where are you going to land? I've had several people right now in my pipeline are moving due to schools. Schools are going to become an important part of the decision going forward, because in the fall, we're expecting those kids to be back in school. Some companies are calling their employees back to work full time in the office. So some of those people are either going to go move back to where they were, or they're going to be looking for a new job. So we're going to have a lot more shifting going on this summer and this fall as we kind of unpack this. But in the meantime, all that growth is giving us the benefit of stability and security, because the loan to value is going down. So a report was just came out earlier this week on Wall Street Journal talking about the average loan to value right now is 32%, which the opposite of that means that the equity, the average amount of equity is 68%. Now, of course, included in that is all the homes that don't even have a loan on them. If I compare this to 2008, the last time we did have a bubble, the average loan to value was 63%. It's opposite, 100% opposite, with only 37% equity. And remember what we were dealing with back then. I mean, we had elevated appreciation values, right? We had appraisers who were talking to lenders, who were talking to real estate agents. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail of how overvalued were those appraisals, but let's just say that there were appraisals, I'm sure, that came in overvalued. So not only were those appraisals stated as overvalued because of all the relationships going on in that transaction, but then they got a loan for 125%, because why not? I mean, I just don't even understand that, based on a stated income package, right? So if you had the NINAs and the stated income packages on an option arm, no less, right? So where you could pick a pay. So you've got this massively risky borrower who's buying multiple homes at the same time at 100 to 125% loan to value based on a value that might be exposed. With the average loan to value at that point, 63%, which means less people own their homes free and clear as well. So that is a significant difference between now and any kind of bubble. And with the inventory that we've got right now, I mean, a fraction of what they had in 2008, it simply isn't possible. I mean, they had 26,000 homes. Denver market did. The 11 counties in DMAR had 26,000 homes active in 2008. In this month, that many years ago, right? We had less than 2,000 this month. You can't have a bubble burst if you have no inventory, and we just simply don't have the foreclosures. So I want to share that as well. And I shared this, if you were at one of the market trends presentations that we did a week ago, I showed this. So I'm going to fly through this really quickly, but it's super important that you have this. And we'll put these slides in our Facebook Agent Ignite group. Speaking of Facebook, so my personal page got taken down, something to the fact of I didn't conform to community standards, which I don't even know what that means because I never talk political or negative, but we're working on it. It's all I know. It's all I'm a little addicted is what I found out because I'm kind of going through withdrawals. But other than that, our Facebook group is still very active. It doesn't have any of my posts in it, but it's very active, and we'll post today's session in there as well as this slide deck. But the average equity per homeowner nationwide was extremely strong, 26,300. In the state of Colorado, 32,000 equity growth year over year is what this is, right? So where am I today versus where was I a year ago? Gained 32,000. The big number on this one is the average Coloradoan has $254,000 in equity. So I'm just going to ask a question. What could you do with $254,000? That's a question you should ask your entire database. What could you do with $254,000? And see who doesn't answer that question, right? Because they don't know. They don't know what the appreciation has been doing and how much equity they've been building. Forbearances are declining. In fact, they've hit another low, which is fantastic. The FHA and the VA, the Ginnie Mae loans continue to fall off and more rapidly every single month. Love this, right? They're either recasting, they're deferring that payment to the end, they're getting on a payment plan, or they are selling. And the majority of people have over 10% equity in their home that they're able to sell the traditional way. So this is an extremely healthy market. So 4%, it's actually less than 4 based on the coloring. It's about 3.6% of Coloradoans are still in forbearance. Very, very low. Only 2.5% of Coloradoans have less than 10% equity in their home today. And that was probably just the zero down borrowers in the last 6 months is all I can think of. It's the only people in the entire state who would have less than 10% today. So only 2.5%. So if I take that 3.6% are in forbearance and only 2.5% have less than 10% equity, the number that you have is under 1,000 households that are actually at risk here in Colorado, which isn't even going to make a dent on our inventory if it all became active inventory this month. It's just not even going to make a dent. It would make some buyers extremely happy, but it wouldn't make a dent on our overall health of our supply and our demand. Denver continues to be low. A couple months ago, I read a report where we were the fourth from the bottom on all of our defaults. Our delinquency numbers, our foreclosure rate numbers, our delinquencies are all extremely low. If not the bottom, they're the second to the bottom. We have a very healthy housing market here in Colorado. So to pay $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 over is a lot of money, right? But you're not going to lose that money. You just have to grow into it. It's like the jeans that your parents made you buy when you were a kid. They were always big because you had to grow into them. That's what we did. I'm from New York. We bought all of our Levi's a size too big every time. I don't think I bought a pair of jeans that actually fit me until I was 14. Maybe that was just my mom, but that was definitely a New York thing. Everybody had their Levi's. So when is this appreciation speed train going to slow down, and what's going to make it slow down? So that's what I want to talk about really quickly. Two things are going to make this slow down. One is herd immunity. And we're already headed there, right? So this chart actually showed that Colorado, 22 and a half. So 22.44% of us have already gotten both shots. Really great news. So we're heading there. Some people will say you don't hit herd immunity until you get to 75%. Other people will say you start to get there 25%. There are different studies, and that's what I'm not getting into. But just even to see that 22% of us already have our second shot, we're moving into this herd immunity ability, right? That's going to be the first thing that's going to slow down this demand, right? You still have all these millennials and this generational movement. I mean, I've talked about this, and I just love the statistic that the birth rate doesn't start slowing down until after the kids who are turning 13 this year. So we have 2 decades of buyers coming into the market. But when you have herd immunity, you're going to be able to go back out again and do other things other than fixate on why your home isn't the right home or what kind of home you need to buy or sell, right? We're going to start turning towards cruises and trips and concerts and going out to eat and all the other things that people enjoy doing, getting out of the house, which is going to slow down the demand slightly, because I've kind of given up on the supply, right? I've kind of given up. I do know that as people start to get herd immunity, more people will feel like they can sell and go move, and people can come into their homes safe and not be worried about somebody coming into their home with COVID, right? So there's some of that as well. But if we can just get the demand to temper slowly, then we'll have more of an appropriate amount of supply. So 22.4, we just got great news in the direction of herd immunity. Our job numbers came out just this morning, and our initial claims for unemployment went down to below 600,000. They have not hit this low since prior to COVID. This is great news. Because remember, we talked about the fact that, what are we in April? March, when we talked about the unemployment number, we had 1 million new jobs start just under, like it was 973,000. I'm kind of making that number up, but it's really close to that, right? In March, jobs that were formed. So we were talking about the fact that if we get 1 million new jobs every month, this is going to put us on a very strong track back towards full employment, right? Or at least normal unemployment, right? Versus our COVID unemployment. So to see this number drop down below 600, this is a big deal. And that just happened this morning. Retail sales also came out this morning. Love that jump right there. You know what that is? That's a stimulus package. That's the $1,400, right? They're going to work for you. The biggest jump, clothing. All those people talking about getting back out, herd immunity. I can start traveling again. I can go back to work again, whatever those things are. I can go back out to eat again. I need clothes to do that. I need new clothes for a new me, or whatever that is. Biggest jump, clothing. Had to share. But this is right after the first stimulus check came out, right? And then here's the stimulus check that came out in December. This is January numbers. And then here's the stimulus check that just came out. Now, some people were delayed in receiving their $1,400 stimulus checks. So we're expecting that retail sales will be strong again next month. So people are going out and they're spending some of that money. So this is really, really good news. It's just all the other indicators that we've been talking about that are coming back. The confidence level is coming back. Manufacturing numbers just came out strong again. Builder confidence just came out this morning. It's also up, even with the cost of lumber being high. All of these are in the right direction, that we're ready to explode and have a strong economy as if this didn't happen. I mean, this is pent up demand. Americans love to spend, and we love to go out, and we love to travel, and we like to eat, and we like to go to bars, and we've been pent up for too long. The economy is about to explode. In the meantime, interest rates did do that nice little dip. This would be the conversation to have with your buyers. Have you talked to your lender lately? I heard interest rates did a little dip. Let's see if we can get you into that home this weekend, right? I just locked somebody this morning at 2.99, no cost. I love that. So when I am seeing these numbers coming back, even if it's just for a minute, because don't hang on to this and think, okay, we're going back down again, because we are not. But take it when we can, because long-term, the interest rates, we're expecting 4% next year, 5% in 2024. It's the general trend. We know that as the economy opens up, the Federal Reserve will start pulling back on purchasing mortgage-backed securities, and we'll see interest rates going up. But if we can take advantage of this, but those rising interest rates, what we saw right here, right? This is the group right there where we saw interest rates coming up off the bottom of 2.65 and taking a little dip. Nice, love it. But that trend is going to continue. That trend is the second factor in the slowdown for demand. In 2000 and I want to say 8, in 2013, sorry, I had to think about that for a second. In 2013, interest rates jumped up when the Fed started tapering. Interest rates went from 3.3 to 4.5. Mortgage purchase applications dropped 20%. So the interest rates will make a difference, right? They'll calm some of that demand. It's not going to knock it out, but we'll start having conversations around affordability. People will still be able to get in. Remember, we have a K-shaped recession for those who have had more, and now they've done extremely well in the stock market, and they can still put money down and they can still afford those homes. But it will be a conversation, and some of that, maybe that whimsical buying will slow down. Maybe I needed that second home, but not really needed that second home. Maybe I'm going to rethink that second home. That's a conversation, right? So mortgage purchase applications did slow down, but this is before the interest rate. So this is a week delay. So we saw a slight slowdown in mortgage purchase applications, 1%, right? It went down 1% week over week. Now it still looked high compared to year over year, but remember we were in lockdown a year ago. So that I'm not taking that number into account at all, but it did slow 1%. Refinances slowed way down as the interest rates were going up, but the purchases went down 1%. Moodys also came out and slightly adjusted their numbers for what they expect this year. So they were expecting that in February, they had the home sales for 2021 and 2022 coming out strong. In fact, stronger than they were in 2020. They have revised that slightly lower based on a lack of inventory, based on interest rates going up, based on maybe some pullback in demand. So they are revising that. So we'll just continue to watch this, but it's still right in line. I mean, here's our 2020. And so we're kind of staying right in line. Instead of getting stronger, they're thinking it's going to flatten out. They're also thinking that this is the Zillow Home Value Index is going to start going down faster, right? They had it first kind of slowly, like staying up at these double digits and then slowly coming back down to 10% year over year price gain. And now that price gain, they're saying we're going to lose that a little bit faster if these interest rates continue to go up. Because this little temporary dip, don't hang on to that. Take advantage of it, but don't hang on to it. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and let me do this, and we'll see if Mr. Bruce Lund can join us again. And we're going to turn it over. Miss Cara, do we have any questions that we want to discuss before Bruce takes off?
Yeah, I've got one question from Peggy. She asked, if they recast the loan, are you seeing potential for foreclosure due to the payment increase for people? Or would it only affect the 2.5% that you mentioned previously that have less than 10% equity?
So if they recast the loan, okay, so let me actually change the vernacular, and I might have said it wrong. Recasting means if I have a bucket of money that I can put in the loan, and then I can actually pay down the principal, recast, so I can reset a new monthly payment for that lower loan balance. What they're doing for the folks that are in forbearance is they're doing a loan modification. So they're actually dropping the interest rate. In the recast, you don't drop the interest rate. They're dropping the interest rate and providing a lower monthly payment. Either way, the payment's going down, not up. Now, you do have one of the options. You could either do a deferment, which it goes all the way out to the end, or you could do a payment plan. And that's probably what you're asking about. If you do set up a payment plan, you can take the amount that you didn't pay during the forbearance and you can divide it by, and they increased it from 12 months to like 30 months. And so it kind of spreaded it out. Most people went with the deferment. Very few people went with the payment plan. But if you did do the payment plan and then you got yourself in trouble again, or you lost your job and you couldn't make that increased payment, that's an issue. Then you would default back into the fact that only 2.5% of all Coloradoan households have less than 10% equity. So you would just sell your home.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's
So Mr. Bruce, super excited. I'm going to turn the tables over to you. You guys know who he is. It's why you showed up. So I don't have to introduce him, but I do have to say that he has just started coaching, thousands of folks you're coaching right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've had over 1,000 people enroll in our systems over the last 3 years. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Right now is the time where you have to differentiate yourself. You have to identify your marketing. You have to identify who your avatar is, your client is, and then you have to create efficient systems to be able to tackle this market. So with that, none better than Mr. Dr. Bruce Lund. I'm going to let you take over.
Well, thank you, Nicole. And it was fun sitting through your presentation. I feel much more educated now. I feel like I have a PhD now in statistics in the housing market. I always feel that way whenever I listen to you or Megan talk about the market. So you guys are the best in the business at what you do. So I appreciate that. So, well, let's jump right into the 4-hour workday, and I'll just spend, 45 minutes. I have a heart of a teacher approach when it comes to teaching. So I want to do about 45 minutes and then obviously open it up for Q&A. I love Q&A. As a former professor and a PhD in human performance, I love the back and forth of being able to have those conversations. So I want to share with you this 4-hour workday concept that I created. I basically created this concept about 2 years into my own business. And the reason I created that, talking about Colorado, is, my first year of business, I show up and I'm like, hey, I have this amazing 90-day sales manager program. And the market doesn't care, right? The market really doesn't care that you're there with this new thing. You have to go out there and earn the respect of the market. And so I was going to happy hours. I'm literally one of those people, I need to go out to events constantly, which has been an issue for me like during COVID. But my first year of business, right, I'm going out to happy hours like literally every single night. And I thought I was moving to Colorado to like get in the best shape of my life, right? I'm going to go hiking and I'm going to get in the best shape. And then I'm drinking all these IPAs, and all those IPAs for me personally go straight to my face and my stomach, right? And so what I started thinking about, like the 4-hour workday, there's certain parts of your business, all things feed all things. I believe in intentional congruence. And the first thing that a lot of us let go when we first start in our business is our personal health. And our personal health is probably the most important thing to all of this, right? It affects our energy and our confidence and all these parts of it. So I'm going to break down really the 4 quadrants that I believe all of you are probably already doing, but maybe you're not doing it intentionally. When I get on here and I get to speak with the top 1%ers of the top 1%ers, like the Nicoles of the world, they're already doing a lot of these things. It's just, we're going to put like a science to it to where you're like, okay, now I know why I'm doing that. And now I'm going to be more intentional with how I do that, right? So a lot of you are already doing a lot of these little things. Maybe some of you aren't though. And you're like, man, I know I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. Tony Robbins talks about the 2.2 millimeters of change. I don't know if you've ever heard of this expression or not, Nicole. The 2.2 millimeters of change is just this. No great plastic surgeon will ever make more than 2.2 millimeters of change on somebody, and they'll never make more than 7 changes. All right. So I just want to kind of provide some of these little tips and tricks that can really make a huge difference in your business. We're talking about plastic surgery, and I got this big old zit on my nose right here, Nicole, that I can't stop looking at. So I told Nicole, I'm like, I woke up like yesterday and I'm like a teenager again with this pimple. Anyways, we don't need to go down that path.
See, I told you not to own it. I was like, it just looks like you bumped your nose. I would have said that.
Oh, no. It's a straight on zit, but it's all good. What can you do? So the content that I'm going to go through, I created this quick read book. A quick read book is really, if you have the download for today's presentation, everything that I'm going to go through today, you have a QR code that you can go back through and watch the video. Okay. So I know I'm going to have a lot of content. I'm a fast talker, high energy. So you can come back through, and whether it's just looking at it inside of your own workbook or coming back to this, right? Because less than 1% of a person actually reads a book a year in today's world. The only way that I got through a PhD is through the Cliff Notes. Okay. It's by just taking the most important concepts and really internalizing those. So that's what I've really done for all of you is I've studied all of these top producers. I've coached all these top producers. I've studied all these big time philosophers and disciples in the personal development area. And I've really boiled it down to these areas within the 4-hour workday, tied to your personal development, your professional development, your marketing development, and then your database/operations development. And this concept, like I said, it truly has changed my own life. And it's fun for me because I get to see it change other people's lives in the process. So let me just jump right into the first part of the first time block of the 4-hour workday. Okay. So when I break down this 4 hours, it's basically a 90-minute time block, followed by a 30-minute time block, followed by a 90-minute time block, followed by a 30-minute time block. Okay. And there's a reason for that. Just like Nicole is going through the stats and the science, there's a science behind the 90-30, 90-30 time block system. All right. And so I've truly adopted that into my own life to where, if you do anything, like a lot of us get antsy in the first 10 minutes and then we try to find a distraction, right? Like Nicole, your Facebook being shut down, you're going to see your productivity levels going to go through the roof, right? Because that's one of the biggest distractions that we all have is we'll start working on something and then we want to immediately pick up our phone. We pick up our phone and touch it like hundreds of times throughout every single day. All right. So 90-30 is just, I'm going to be locked and loaded during these 90 minutes, just focused on this activity. And then I'm going to move on to this activity. And then I'm going to go check my fires because I know a lot of you are firefighting, right? And I know that's not realistic for you just to say, I'm not going to look at my email or my phone or this or that in the process. So the very first 90 minutes that I focus on every single day and that we coach you to focus on is tied to you. I'm a big Stephen Covey disciple. I believe in the whole person theory. We're all made up of a mind, a body, and a heart, and a spirit, okay? And the body's need is to live. The mind's need is to learn. The heart's need is to love or to be loved, and the spirit's need is to leave a legacy. And so that's truly my 50-30-10-30 time block system. 90 minutes on my mind, on my body, my mind, and my heart. And then 30 minutes on my spirit. So that's what I'm going to break down right here with you all. I'm a big proponent or an advocate of taking care of your body first thing. Right? Have you ever heard of the concept, eat the frog? Eat the frog is basically, do the one thing that you really don't want to do first thing in the morning, right? So for a lot of us, that is working out. And so I'm just a big believer, like I will sleep in my workout clothes. I'll have my shoes laid out next to my bed. My alarm clock goes off. I get up, I make my little pre-workout drink that I can drink in 5 minutes. I put my shoes on, I stretch, I go down, like I stay in the hotels basically now. I go down to my hotel gym. Nobody's in there at 5:30 a.m. So I know it's just going to be me, which is great. And I can knock out my workout in, 30 to 45 minutes. So that is the very first thing that I personally do. All right. Now, for some of you, you might want to go work out at a gym. Maybe you don't have a home gym. All right. I'm just big on, like I said, being super productive. And I just know if I got to go get in my car and drive across town to go to a gym, right, the probability starts to lower that I'm going to feel like doing that in the process. I'm not saying not to do that because a lot of you, I talk about multipliers a lot in your business. A multiplier is if you're going to go do that, then you had better be making relationships within that community, right? Within that gym. So if you want to look at this as part of your business plan, right? And you say, you know what, I'm going to work out. I'm going to go work out at insert gym here, Orange Theory Fitness, or, whatever it might be. And it's not only because it's health benefit, but also I do want to make partnerships and relationships at that gym. Otherwise, if you're just treating this as truly, I just want to feel good and all that kind of stuff, then I would strongly encourage you to have some kind of fitness, like little workout area inside your home. And during COVID, this is what I learned is, I hired a personal trainer that just literally gives me workouts, 45 minutes a day that I could do from home. And it's going to eliminate a lot of distractions, or should I say a lot of excuses, right? My definition of an excuse is a self-proclaimed opt-out clause. And we give ourselves a lot of self-proclaimed opt-out clauses to not do the things that we know we should be doing, okay, within the process. So 50 minutes should be spent on your PQ, your physical quotient, every single day, in my opinion, Monday through Friday, okay? So I have a whole system. Nicole, I don't have a problem even sharing that with everyone, like the same workouts that I do. I mean, it's definitely it's like a cross between like CrossFit. I mean, it's pretty intensive, but you can do them from home, okay? Saturdays for me, I want to give you permission then on Saturdays, go do the things that you enjoy with the people who matter. So if you enjoy hiking, go do that with your advocates. If you enjoy playing tennis, if you enjoy yoga, if you enjoy, whatever it might be, if you enjoy drinking, okay? Like I'm not even saying it has to be physical activity. So for me, if I do this on Monday through Friday, then on Saturday, I've earned the right to go do the things that I really enjoy with the people that I enjoy from an active standpoint. Okay. And then I treat my Sundays as rejuvenation. So I'll do my stretch, my yoga, my meal prep, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of you are like, this has nothing to do with sales, but it does, right? All parts of our lives feed all parts of our lives. And I've been fortunate, like all my roommates in college, they're all exercise science PhDs. And so I've kind of worked through them on this exact blueprint and why this works. Okay. So when I'm going through this 4-hour workday, I'm not really just like having you guys work through the plan. I'm just giving you the plan that I know that works for top producers all over the world in this process. Okay. Now, one of the other exercises that I like to do in the afternoons or at lunch, this is so that I don't overeat. Okay. So a lot of you, or some of you might do the mini fasting, right? To where you only eat during certain hours. So for me, it's easy for me to overeat at lunch. And when I overeat, what tends to happen then from my productivity standpoint? I get tired, right? We all hit that like early afternoon lull. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll eat kind of light in the afternoon or at lunch, and then I'll go for a walk. And I do what I call walk and talks. So my walk and talks are just what? I'll just call my favorite people. And I get to get outside the house or outside the office or outside the hotel for me, and just go walk and just talk to people that already know me, like me, trust me, right? Calling out my biggest people out there. So again, that's a multiplier because you're getting active, you're going out there, you're keeping energy, all that kind of stuff in the process. All right. So that's what I do for my physical quotient every single week, Monday through Friday, intensive, same time in the morning, early afternoons, I'll go for a walk. I'll stay energized in the process. Saturdays, which I love, Saturdays, go do the things that you enjoy with the people who matter the most. And then Sundays, rejuvenate. Okay. So that's what I spend 50 minutes on. And when I say every single day, I mean, I'm saying pretty much every single day, 80% of the time, right? Because like I said, I'm giving my Monday, Fridays, like the intensive part. Saturdays is more of the, what do I want to go do for fun part, whether that's active or just hanging out socially. And then Sundays is rejuvenation. Okay. In the process. So that's the mindset that I have. Now, speaking of mindset, part number 2 of our time block system that gets into your personal development for the mind. The mind's need is to learn. Okay. So what I have learned over the process, again, of studying and coaching top people all over the world is a lot of people in today's world, they're not intentional with their learning. What do I mean by that? A lot of people will listen to a podcast or listen to a webinar, right? Like just like this, between Nicole's information and my information, we have 2 hours of content. There is no possible way that you're going to be able to go implement all these different things, right? So it kind of goes back into Gary Keller's one thing. So what's the one thing from Nicole's presentation that I can take right now and immediately go implement with my buyers, right? Within the process. I was fascinated by that. Invest 10,000 to get 200,000 for the crypto. And I'm like, I missed that boat as well, Nicole. But anyways, so like just taking that knowledge and saying, okay, how do I really go apply that now? Right. Because I see so many people, it's like, what's the podcast that you recommend? It's like, it's kind of like a CRM, like anyone that you're going to use, anyone that you're actually going to go implement and learn from in the process. So as part of this 4-hour workday, I would say spend 10 minutes of just listening to content, and then 10 to 15 minutes actually mapping out how you're going to implement that content. And then take it a step further, again, as a multiplier activity, is sharing that with other people, right? So sharing like, hey, I just heard this podcast and made me think about you. It was talking about this, this, and this. I really think this would work well for you in your business or in your current life. Okay, right? I know a lot of our realtors, you guys more go after the consumers, right? So just kind of sharing some of that data, some of that information. Like when I get on this webinar with Nicole is a person of influence. There is a big, big difference between a person of interest and a person of influence. A person of interest, it's self-absorbing. It's all about their ego. And no offense to my real estate agents out there. There isn't a lot of ego in real estate agents, okay? Where it's all, look at me, right? It's my house and my car and this and my buyers and my sellers. I don't have a problem saying this because I coach you guys all day, every day, okay? A person of influence isn't all about like, look at me, look at how much money I have, look at my house, look at my car. It's all about influencing other people, right? And so how do you do that then? You like apply knowledge as power. All this information that you're spending time learning, share that with other people, right? They're looking for this information from somewhere. They're going to find this information from somewhere. It might as well be from you as a person of influence to your database and inside of your community. Okay. So this is one of the biggest differentiators that I see are people who are consistently getting better in their knowledge. They're consistently sharpening their saw in their knowledge. And then they go out there and they share that information with their database of people. Okay. So that's the second time block system tied to your personal development, which is just all taking care of your mind, right? The mind's need is to learn. And I would say this should be sharpened every single day for 10 to 30 minutes, 10 minutes of content that you're listening to. That way, because content creation is a beast. When Nicole gets on here every month to give you this content, it's not like she just puts this together and it takes 20 minutes. Content creation is an absolute beast to get on here and to share this information, right? So that's what's going to differentiate you and your database of people. If you are a person of influence versus a person of interest, which is, I'm on this private jet, I'm flying here, I'm flying there. Like, don't be that person. Okay. Do not be that person. Be a person of influence to your database within the process. All right. The third part of a personal time block system, and stay with me because I'm going to go through our entire 90-day selling system that helped me grow my database over 1,000 people. Okay. So I'm spending a lot of time right now just on taking care of your own personal self because you are your greatest asset. But I am going to go through really the selling system and the marketing system that will help you go out there and like increase all the different things that are parts of your business. Okay. So the third part of this gets into the heart. The heart's need is to love or to be loved. Okay. The heart is the EQ, emotional quotient. Emotional intelligence is the number one indicator of success, right? So a lot of us think like we do these IQ tests and we want to be smart. EQ is the number one indicator of success, which is really just understanding my own emotions and understanding other people's emotions. And whenever I talk emotions, you guys more than anybody in real estate understand this, the importance of emotions. Buying and selling real estate is one of the most emotional things that people do, right? So you have to control not only your own emotions as the agent or as the lender, but also the emotions of your people, of your clients in the process. So that's why it's so big every single day. You have to protect your own confidence, right? You have to protect your own mindset. It can be very easy to get stressful and overwhelmed and all these different emotions if we allow it. So practicing gratitude. I know you've all heard of the importance of practicing gratitude. Okay. I can't talk about the 4-hour workday and not have a piece of this day built out for 10 minutes talking about gratitude. All right. So whether that's practicing self-gratitude or whether that's loving on other people. Okay. Inside of my little 90-day sales planner right here, I have a section at the top where every single day I write down what am I grateful for. Sometimes that stays the same. Sometimes it changes, right? Sometimes it changes. Sometimes it stays the same, but I'm consistently every single day writing that in there because a lot of you, especially my real estate agent friends, man, you guys go through a roller coaster of emotions, right? Whether it's where's my next buyer coming from? You know, Nicole, I heard a stat yesterday, actually talking to one of my clients. There are currently 1.4 million real estate agents in the US, and there are 1.2 million listings. I mean, that is insane when you really, really think about that. There are, for the first time ever, I would say ever, but it might be for the first time though, there's more listings than there are real estate agents.
Well, I mean, there are 7,000 members of DMAR and there are less than 2,000 active homes for sale at the end of March. I mean, so they're definitely, you have to know who you are in this market as a lender or a real estate agent.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, so there's going to be times where you don't, like Nicole said, like you don't feel like doing it, or you start to question what, like when I hear like this 23-year-old kid has $10,000 to invest, he makes 200,000, and I'm over here just grinding for a year. You're like, you know what I mean? Like it can be very deflating if you look at things that way. So don't play that if game. The only if game that I play is it's not a matter of if I'm going to be successful. It's a matter of when. It's not a matter of if I'm going to be successful. It's a matter of when. And so that really is why I practice the daily gratitude, not only to love on other people, but to make sure my own emotions are in check every single day in the process. Okay. So that's the third part of our personal development system. And then the fourth part. So this now gets into really that 30-minute time block, right? So 50 minutes is on your body, 30 minutes is on your mind, 10 minutes is on your heart. And then we transition into another 30 minutes, then gets into the spiritual quotient. Now, I'm not going to get into, religion and all that kind of stuff. So I treat the spirit for me as my database, as my legacy. So my database of people, the Nicoles of the world, the Cars of the world, right? I get to pick and choose who I allow into my life and into my relationships and into my partnerships. A lot of people don't create or treat their database that way, right? They let anybody with a pulse and a pocketbook into it. And now they don't have a filter of the people they want to do business with. And now they're attracting high maintenance people who commoditize you. And that's never going to be fun, right? And that's going to zap the energy for you. So I spend 30 minutes a day just making sure that my database is updated. And this is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I hear from top producers is just, when I ask them, what advice would you give to somebody that was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years into their business? I wish I would have, every contact that came to my life, I wish I would have scrubbed that data and either decided if that person needs to go into my CRM or not, right? And I know this is super hard because most salespeople don't, like, if you ever study the DISC profile, high D's, high I's, like dominant personalities who want to be liked. That's typically 90% of salespeople. Okay. Which means what? We don't like doing data entry. We don't want to slow down and fill in all this information, but it's so important to the long-term sustainable growth of your business in the process. So I built in, this used to be a 10-minute time block. And then I just realized it needs to be longer. If you're actually going out there and talking to different people and having these conversations, you know, so for 30 minutes a day, I will carve out time where I just make sure that every person that I talk to or is inside of my database in the correct places. Okay. If you have some kind of CRM that does that, where it's tied to your phone, okay, then that's fine. But I would still go back through and make sure that everything is updated to where it needs to be in the process. So every single day I scrub my database and making sure that it's updated the way that it should be, right? Making sure that people are using the correct tags. And I'm going to show you here in a second what tags are tied to the selling system. So I went a little bit longer on this, but I just think it's super important for you to take care of your own self for the first 90 minutes every single day in the process. So hopefully a lot of you are already doing this. If you're not doing hardly any of this, right? So if you rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being the best, 1 being the lowest, and talking about taking care of your body, your mind, and your heart, right? If you're currently a 4, taking care of your body, you're currently, let's say you're a 1, right? You're not going to all of a sudden just come out of the gates and go work out for 50 minutes every single day for 7 days a week. Are you with me there? Like, that's not going to happen, right? So start small in the process and just say, out of all these things that Dr. Bruce has covered, whether it's my physical quotient, whether it's my intellectual quotient, whether it's my spiritual quotient, right? Whether it's my my intellectual quotient, like, which areas are most important for you, right? And then start implementing that. Start building in that time block. And, you know, just talking about time block, Nicole, like, I used to hate time block. And the reason I hated it is the reason I became an entrepreneur in the first place is I didn't want people telling me what I had to go do, when I had to go do it, right? Like, a lot of people, like, we like to have that autonomy, but what you learn is time blocking actually will create the autonomy for you that will allow you to go do a lot more of the things that you really, really enjoy with the people who matter the most in the process. So that's why this time block system is so important in the process. Nicole, I know that you're like a 3 a.m.er getting up. You know, what is your morning routine? Like, just share a side or like, I love the VH1 story behind the story. So share like the Nicole Rueth VH1 behind the story of your morning routine when it comes to taking care of yourself.
I love everything you said. And shockingly, I do a lot of it. So, you know, I get up at 3:30 and I'll speed through this, but it's the very first thing I do after my coffee, because I'm usually a good 3 cups of coffee a morning. After my cup of coffee at 3:30 in the morning, sit down, read from my Bible, and I journal. And then I structure my day. I figure out what are all the tasks and the calendar events. So I start with the calendar events, which then leads to what are the tasks I have to do to get in front of those calendar events. And then I, the journaling and the meditation kind of goes together. Sometimes it's really quick because I'm not in the mood. Sometimes it's longer because I need to settle myself. And then I get into that. And then I get on email. And my team knows this. They're like, we started receiving emails from you at 3 o'clock this morning. I was like, yeah, I know, I couldn't sleep. So then I delegate everything. So then I can come back and recenter myself. Then I go to the gym for an hour every day, 7 days a week, have to do it. And then I come back and then I'm actually getting to my work. But it's a very formal, if I don't do it, I'm off.
Yep. And you're doing, so again, like, you're doing a lot of the things, if not all of the things that we just went through. Right. And it probably took you a long time to figure that out or to get in that rhythm, that routine in the process. And just like you said, you know, the days when you didn't do it, and you can just tell your whole day is kind of like, it's just not working the way that it could be working or should be working. Another important thing here, Nicole, that you just mentioned that I think is very important for all our real estate friends, because I understand that a lot of you are solopreneurs, right? What does it mean to be a solopreneur? It falls solely on you to do like all of your business, right? Your marketing and your operations and taking care of yourself and your sales. And right, there's a lot that goes into running a successful business. So setting up your calendar this way, and eventually what we want to have happen is where you create all this incoming demand for your services to where you're forced to hire a transaction coordinator, or you're forced to go hire and build out your team. But it first starts by getting the structures and the systems in place consistently before now you can go delegate all those different kinds of things. So if you forever are just flying by the seat of your pants, you're never going to be able to really grow your business, scale your business out the way that you intend or the way that you really want. Okay. So Nicole, thank you for sharing. We're going to get into the second time block, which is probably what has put me on the map, which is my proactive prospecting system. 90%, 95% of salespeople don't have a consistent selling system. All right. 65% of salespeople don't even have a CRM or use a CRM in the process. So this is the same selling system, luckily, that I had coming into Denver when I moved, not knowing anybody. All I had was this. I had this selling system. And I had a lot of energy, right, in the process. So, and I knew what really differentiated me and my services over other folks. So this is the 50-30-10 time block system. And this is just a guide. I always make it's like a bad analogy, but like I'm Yoda, you're Luke Skywalker. Okay. I'm the guide, you're the hero. So I'm just giving you a guide that you could follow. This is assuming that most of your business is built on you going and developing new relationships. All right. If you already have a strong database of people, then maybe you flip flop some of these time block systems. Does that make sense? Like you might not spend 50 minutes on new business every single day, and you might spend 50 minutes on your past clients every single day, just depending on the scope and the scale of your database. But, I typically teach this 50-30-10 based on people who they don't really have a strong database yet. Okay. So again, if you already have a database, flip flop them. So this is the selling system. The reason I love my selling system over all the other selling systems that are out there is every category is a mindset. I don't really like ranking my clients. Okay. I get the point of it. Like how many clients are sending you business, rank them on an A, B, C, D list, hot list, warm list, all that kind of stuff. I just believe in consistency with engaging with my active database of people. Okay. And I also believe that this will help you, especially, like I said, the younger, newer folks that are out there with your confidence, right? Confidence is the one thing that affects everything in sales and in business. When we have confidence on our side, we think we're a lot better than we are. When we don't have it, we think we're a lot worse than we actually are, right? Momentum is a great exaggerator. And so our selling system, it teaches you a mindset for these different categories of people that you really should be going out and talking to. So my help list is simply that, help list. I think I can help you. I don't know, right? So all of you should have a very specific niche of a target market and a segment, okay? That's a whole different other presentation if you don't have that. So I'm just saying, like, you should all really know who you're trying to go out there and attract and target through your marketing and through your message, okay? Once you have that figured out, now the question is, how many of those people do you need to have coming in new every single week or every single month for you to hit your key performance indicators? So for me and my business, I need 10 new people every single week that comes into my life that either raises their hand or I have to self-identify as somebody that I can help, right? So for some of you, that sounds like way too many. All right. So pick your number based on the number of appointments you need to have and the number of business that you want to go out there and create. But help list for you, like I said, if you're brand new, you probably don't have that much incoming demand. What is incoming demand? Nicole, you have a lot of incoming demand, right? Especially during this crazy world that we live in right now when interest rates are 2.99. Okay. So you have all these people who, and you've taken what, 30, 40 years, how many, like, trying to do the math, 20 years?
Of how long I've
your
been
age earlier. So you built a database for how many years now?
I've been in this business for 20 years, but I've been originating for about 11.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's just say 11 years. You spent 11 years building up your own database. Right. So at this point in your career, as long as you're good at what you do, which you are, then you have incoming demand for your services. Right. So you don't necessarily need to have, like, I need to have 10 new people to target every single week, right? You already have that coming in every single week because of your marketing and your database and your messaging and all those kinds of things, right? But for some people, like, let's say there was a brand new lender that was on here, they're not at your level yet. So they might need to have, all right, who are the 10 real estate agents that I'm targeting, or who are the 10 consumers that I'm targeting? All right. So all of this is to say we're all at different places in our careers, but we need to figure out how many people on our help list do we need to have? Whether I have incoming demand through my own personal brand and my message, or that I need to target proactively. All right. But that is the mindset that I love. I've never cold called anybody. So just to let everyone know, like, how do I move from Nashville to Denver and launch my business, grow 1,000 people? Is I've never cold called anybody. And how do I do that then? I just figured out ways to be more attractive to the market and put on events and attend events and host webinars and things like that. Okay. Same thing for you and your business. So that's the mindset for your help list, is I think I can help everybody in the world, but let's have a conversation and really figure out if you fit my filter. If you're like, I want all of you to be the buyer versus the seller, where you get to pick and choose who you do business with. Okay. Then you have that first conversation. What happens from there? They fit your filter. They're going to use somebody. They're a motivated buyer. Now they go into your fight club. Now you're just consistently fighting to earn the business within the process. So the sales funnel for everybody, this isn't different. This isn't unique to a loan officer or a real estate agent or a title producer or an insurance agent. Like, at the end of the day, everybody's business really is the same on paper. Is you either have a new target, a suspect, or a lead. Okay. You set the appointment with them. You conduct the appointment with them. You show them your value. You ask for the business, right? If it's not closed right away, you follow up with value to stay in front of them. Hopefully at some point they convert over to a new client, and then you onboard them so that they become a promoter or an advocate. Does that sound the same for everybody, right? Within the process. So that's what I've really identified, is everybody's business is the same, but it's the mindset when you start organizing your database and you start setting these benchmarks. So I want to have 10 helpless people every single week, and I have 15 people in my fight club. My fight club, maybe my favorite concept, is I'm fighting to earn the business. I want everyone to write this down. There's three things to look at. Number one, are you really good at what you do? Yes or no? Hope the answer is yes. Are they going to use somebody? The answer is yes. Are they a motivated buyer? The answer is yes. If they fit that filter, then it's your duty as a sales professional to fight to earn the business. And a lot of people, this is where a lot of people get nervous and scared, is the fight club follow-up. The fight club follow-up just simply means they're going to use somebody. You're really good at what you do. It might as well be you. Like, that's it, right? So now you have a database of people that fit that fight club, that are maybe 3 to 6 months out from buying a house or selling their house, right? So now you're consistently fighting to earn that business, assuming that they're not under contract within the process. So that's my first time block system, where I spend just 50 minutes on my new business. Okay.
Bruce, I have a question for you. Somebody asked, is there a process to figure out or identify the filter questions specifically that you should ask? I mean, I know you just asked like 3 questions and they were pretty general, but is there a way that they can design what those questions should be?
Yeah, I think a big part of it, again, it goes back into who's your ideal client. Like, so for a lot of you, like, writing down traits or characteristics of your favorite clients that you've served. Okay. Now, again, if you're brand new, this is where it's like, you're just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and having it stick. And you start to realize that. But I do think a lot of it, like my filter, just talking about mine, are you hungry? Are you humble? Are you coachable? And are you enlightened? If you don't fit those 4 things, then I can't help you. All right. So even just sitting down, and every first conversation, I share that with somebody, right? I have a very clear filter of the exact type of people I want to do business with. This goes back into, Nicole, you're at this level where you have confidence in not commoditizing yourself. There's a really, really good book called The Challenger Sale that I recommend all of you go buy. The Challenger Sale just says this: are you really good at what you do? And like, are you a teacher? Are you an educator? A lot of us think the relationship builders are king in sales. And that's not the case. It's actually the challenger is the number 1 trait, because they're not afraid to challenge people. They're not afraid of calling people. They're not afraid to teach people, right? You guys are the experts at the end of the day. I know there's all this information that the consumer can go find and get, but like Nicole said earlier, you can typically tell if you have a high maintenance customer that already knows it all, and they're going to be a nightmare for you 90% of the time. All right. Now, some of you are at the point where you can't turn that business away. I understand that. Okay. But it takes only 3 or 4 or 5 of those clients for you to say, I don't want to have those clients. I want to have this type of client, right? It might be the first time home buyer that is so grateful for you to help them get into the home, right? It might be an investor. It might be, I'll share a story with my friend. She's the number 1 producer in all of Tennessee the last 3 years. And she had a big investor client. We're recording this, so I got to be kind of careful what I say. But essentially, this one big client that she had, it was eating up a lot of her energy, and like, it just became not a good partnership. And so they parted their ways. And now maybe she's not the number 1 real estate agent in all of Tennessee, but she's pretty close to those same numbers still, because she could take that same time, that energy, and do what? Go find other people who fit that filter, right? And that's when business becomes fun. Nicole, would you agree? Like when you get to really work with those people, like what do you call it? Your tribe, you call it whatever you want to call it, right? When you can go find those people now and consistently get to work with them, that's when your business becomes fun, right? But early on, like you're trying to figure out that filter. So that's a great question.
I'm going to stop you there again. Sorry, you have two more questions.
Yep.
Hungry, humble, teachable. What was the fourth quality?
Enlightened. Enlightened simply in my verbiage is they know why they're doing what they're doing. Now, again, like for my mess, I coach people, right? So if Nicole as a sales manager says, hey, I want you to coach my team, and this one person in particular is uncoachable, but I want you to go coach them. And I have to go convince that person like why they need coaching. Like that's enlightened to me, is you know why you're doing what you're doing. Right. Just like the same thing with your consumers, is they know why they're wanting to sell their house. Like I try to sell to a want versus a need, if that makes sense. It's a whole lot more fun when you're selling to a want versus somebody needs something from you in the process.
And then what was the book you just referenced?
The Challenger Sale.
The Challenger Sale. Okay.
Yep.
And then one last question.
Yep.
I know, everybody says that the best CRM is the one that you use, but Michael did ask, do you have a recommendation for CRM system?
I don't get into that game, to be honest with you, Nicole, because honestly, a lot of these CRMs, like I do events with them. So I never really want to step on people's toes, but I've never heard anybody say like that CRM stinks. It really is a matter as a consumer. I will say the simpler, the better, like when you're talking about all these bells and these whistles. The exercise that I typically will tell people to do is reach out to 3 to 5 people in your industry that you do know, like, and trust, and ask them what CRMs they're using. And you'll start to hopefully see themes of the top producers who are using those CRMs. So I'm giving you kind of like homework, but I do think that's a great exercise, is just calling on, 5 people who you see are top producers in your market and just asking them what CRMs they're using.
And I would say, even after you've been in the business and you've hit a level that theoretically the business continues to come in, you're seen as an expert, you're doing the education. I wanted to bring this up only because I typically wouldn't, but it's sitting here staring me in the face because there are calls I have to make as soon as we get off this webinar. I have my Jungo list, which Jungo is a CRM we use. It's a lending CRM on top of Salesforce. But this is my call list for today. And every day I have a call list. So I don't know if you want to continue to be relatable, building your database, having those opportunities, because every conversation is an opportunity. And I can't have opportunities if I don't continue the conversations. But so I just wanted to say that I wish I could just let the phone ring. But it's an active management position I'm taking.
It really is. And like, as somebody who's moved around a lot, I've gone from Michigan to Texas to Tennessee to, obviously to Denver, now back to Texas. But it's funny how, your friends from 15 years ago, like they're just kind of in passing because you don't stay as active with them, right? It's the same thing with our database of people. I've seen this happen to where, some friend, like we all go through seasons of life. Some people are more important at this stage of your life than they will be in the future. And that's completely fine. But when you're not consistently engaging with them and staying in front of them, then a lot of times it is kind of out of sight, out of mind, within the process. So that's why working a selling system is vital in the process. And I'm going to show you here in the next part of this is, how to leverage your marketing tools and systems on to stay relevant, because, even talking about your selling system, I'm amazed at how many people will reach out to me from high school. And it's like, I just love watching what you're doing. And like, I don't even know that they're seeing me, right? Like they might be following me on Facebook that I don't even know, but they're just following along because I'm consistently in front of them that way, right? That's the power of social media. It's not to interrupt people's day with ads and stuff like that, in my opinion. It's the people that that already know you, like you, trust you, that want to see what you're doing and stay engaged with you in the process. Because when you really talk about ads, you're kind of interrupting somebody's day. Like people aren't on Facebook to see some business ad or some ad about whatever it is. You're kind of interrupting their day. What it is meant to be, it's a social platform. Right. So that's why being consistent even through social media is important. Like, again, I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Are there any other, Nicole, any other questions?
No, we got them all at this point.
Perfect. So the second time block system tied to the selling system. So the first category is all about helpless flight club, new business conversations. I spend 50 minutes a day on that. Again, that might be high for you. You might say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on that. That might be low for you, depending on where you are in your business. My favorite people are all the current people, all my past clients in the process. And I differentiate this for your business, Nicole, and for my real estate friends. I don't consider them a new client until they're in the house or the house is sold. Essentially, my definition of a new client is money has exchanged hands. Money went from their bank account to my bank account. Now they become a new client. The reason I think this is so important is for a lot of you, you're what I call windshield shoppers, right? You put them into the home and now you're already on to the next deal. That's a lot of salespeople, okay? Versus now asking myself, because to me, that's when that relationship, that bond, how to be transformational in a transactional business. We've all heard the stats about the number one reason why people don't refer the real estate agent. Have you guys heard that one before? The number one reason why people don't refer their real estate agent in the first 6 months or after the first 6 months, they forgot their name. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, we're talking about, this is the biggest transaction you're ever going to make, and I want to be there every step of the way. And then 6 months later, they can't remember who they used for that transaction. All right. So that's why I have this new client onboarding process, and I follow the 5 love languages. Okay. You guys have probably heard of the 5 love languages. I adopt that same concept. I apply it to my business, where I will do a gift. I'll do words of affirmation. I'll do, I've only listed 2. I've already forgotten them. Gifts, words of affirmation. I want to keep going to physical touch, because everyone always asks me about that one. Like, you can't go around touching your clients, right? So my advice for physical touch is, like, when you're with them, be with them, right? Don't have your phone out in your hand, all that kind of stuff. But, I have a 5-touch 90-day process for all my new clients, where I go through the 5 love languages. And if I do that properly, there are 3 rewards that we should get from every one new deal, every one transformational deal. Every one deal should be worth 5.7 additional deals, right? And the 3 rewards I should get are referrals, reviews, and repeat business or retention. That's it, right? So again, like, I try to simplify everyone's business in the process. So that's why I have this 30-minute time block built in every single day for my favorite people, which are my new clients and my 90-day onboarding process. And then I have my current clients. So in definition for a real estate agent or a lender is they're in process, right? You're out showing them the house. You have their house listed. You're just doing all the things that you really should be doing as a professional at that point. And then the end goal is to get them to become a new client, and then into a promoter, into an advocate. All right. So this is what I spend 30 minutes of my day on every single day. Some of you do theme days. Nicole, do you do theme days at all? Theme days meaning, like, I'm going to call in all my in process on a certain day. I'm going to call my referral partners a certain day.
We do. We have status days. So Thursdays are our status calls. Wednesday is our weekly theme video. So we do have Saturdays is our blog that I write up. So yes. So we have every day there's usually something that I have Cara helping me with.
And so, like, the reason I bring that up is some people choose to do, like, everything, all these lists that I'm going through as just theme days. I'm going to call on new business on Mondays. I'm going to call my favorite people on Tuesdays. I'm going to call on my business to business connectors on Wednesdays, right? Like, you guys can pick and choose how you do this. Again, I'm just giving you the blueprint for organizing your selling system and working them through the process. One of the questions I consistently get on, like, what's the difference between a promoter or an advocate? And this is how I define a promoter. A promoter is past 90 days a past client. Okay. And you might call on them once every 90 days. Like, it's like they'll say good things about you when solicited, but they're not actively involved in our lives, right? They're not actively like, oh my gosh, go use Nicole for mortgage, like, every single day on social media. But our advocates do that. Our advocates are our big clients, our big partners. And I want every single one of you to have a top 25 advocates. These are people who have your back and you have their back. All right. In the process. So this is how I look at my favorite people. I have a time block system built into, 30 minutes a day just on my favorite people. And then I get into my referral partners. And again, like, this would be 10 minutes, but there are certain days where I do this as 50 minutes. Okay. But my people of influence, and Nicole, I'll say this will help you become the 1%. Is a lot of people don't do this because they're only taught the natural sales cycle, which is new lead to appointment, to conducting the appointment, to follow up, to client, into past client database. Okay. So this is something that's really separated me and my business of like when I moved to Colorado in the first year, like everybody knew who I was. It was just by following this people of influence strategy. So there's a book called The Dream 100 Concept. The Dream 100 concept is this. There are 100 people right now in your market who are people of influence, people of power, right? People who have a big reach of database. And I want to consistently stay in front of those people, right? So Nicole, like I knew from day one moving to Colorado, I had heard your name 5 different times, right? It might take me 3 years for me to actually do something with you. But that's the strategy here is like, I just know if you're a good person, you fit my filter, you're a hustler. It's not a matter of if our paths are going to cross, it's a matter of when, right? So I identify those people early on, and then it's like, how do I stay in front of them? Like whether it's through social media, whether it's through events, whether it's attending events, whether it's hosting events, and consistently invite them in the process. So this is another strategy all of you could use is just leveraging. I say leverage is a bad word, but it's not, right? Like we're all kind of leveraging our relationships. There's an exchange of value in the process. It could be a value of energy. It could be a value of money. It could be a value of any number of different kinds of things. All right. So I have a connectors, climbers, someday aspirational, and experts. I'm going to go through this rather quickly because I know we're getting pressed for time. So connectors, just think of any business to business referral partner. So for real estate agents, who are people like that? In the chat box, please help me out. Who could be connectors for you and your business as a real estate agent? And Nicole, I'll even call on you if you want to help us out here. Who could be connectors for real estate agents in their business?
Oh, they're doing it. Contractors, insurance agents, loan officers, title inspectors. That's a good one. Real estate attorneys, accountants. Absolutely.
So perfect. So all those, so for me, those are traditional connectors.
Yep.
Right. Just like Nicole, for your business, the strongest traditional connectors that you have are real estate agents and builders. Right.
Absolutely.
So those are traditional connectors. So I want all of you to have 25 traditional connectors within your business. And then non-traditional, and this is where I get a little bit different for you, especially for real estate agents, is go to the same restaurants. You know, I have a buddy of mine, he goes to Capitol Grill every Friday, and he's like the mayor of Capitol Grill in downtown Denver. And he gets business from that, you know. So for you and your business, go to the same coffee shops, go work out of that coffee shop, like build partnerships. Are baristas not talking to consumers every single day? Yes. Your local bartenders are talking to consumers every single day. And all you're trying to do is build those connections with them to where when they hear somebody talking about buying or selling real estate, you're the first person that they think about. Right now, again, like you might not get a deal from that for 2 years. But is it not worth it then just like to be that top of mind, that person of influence that other people think about in the process? So that's just one strategy I think about for non-traditional connectors is you going out there in your community and being that community influencer. And that does take a lot of work, but you're going to reap the rewards from it long term. Climbers, I just call climbers as young hustlers. And they're not necessarily young by age, but Nicole, you were talking about millennials and making up 25% of the market. So, what's stopping you right now from going into a college or university in front of a group of lawyers or whoever and saying, hey, do you guys let outsiders come in and kind of talk about real estate? Because these doctors, these lawyers, these whoever, they're going to go out there and have money at some point, right? Can I come in once a year and just do a presentation for your climbers? Because climbers have the highest earning potential, yes or no, right? Climbers are young hustlers that, again, like the average person buys 5 houses in their lifetime. And if you're actually good at what you do, you can leverage not only those 5 for them, but now you build an investment portfolio for them. You help them grow that. And then you get all their young hustler friends, all their other climber friends. Okay. So these are all just things to think about and being intentional with building out your database. Someday people where they were in your fight club and you thought they were motivated to buy. You thought they still fit your filter. You thought they were going to buy in the next 90 days to 6 months. Who's been there for that, right? And you just start to realize they're not as motivated as you thought they were to buy. They still fit your filter. They're still somebody you want to help in the future, but you're not going to be as aggressive with them as in your fight club in the process. So I market it towards my someday people at all times. Aspirational are those 2 or 3 big time people who could blow up your business, right? Like directors of a human resource place at a certain company. if you become the go-to real estate agent for them for relocations, right? So I'm just trying to get you guys to think a little bit differently about how to go out there and really be that person of influence. And then once a week, what I recommend you do is interview a person of influence. So getting back to that Dream 100 concept, once a week, interview somebody on your Dream 100 and just pick their brain, hear from them, learn their story. And you'll be amazed at the end of that interview, especially if you share this out to your database, they'll ask you, hey, how do I help you in the process? That's not why we do it, but typically it will be reciprocated within the process. So Nicole, I know I went a little bit longer, but like the selling system to me is like the heart of everybody's business. And I just see so many people don't have a selling system, or they're not consistent and disciplined to having a selling system. And I mean, I love it because every category that I went through is a mindset. Help list is a mindset. Fight Club is a mindset. New client is a mindset. Current client, advocates, promoters, connectors, someday climbers. So I go into every one of those conversations with the mindset of how I'm going to add value when I talk to them in the process.
I love that you spent a lot of time there. I think that was time well spent. You do have one question in here that we didn't answer. It did happen a little bit ago, so I apologize. I didn't grab it right away, but you were on a roll. Can you give an example of how you use the 5 love languages? Leanne really liked that idea.
Yep. So, like you guys know, like when you get to the closing table, for instance, right? Like typically there's some kind of gift exchange, and based on compliance, I don't know what that value is, but I go back to, one of my very first properties that I bought was an investment property in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I still remember going to the closing table, and I became very close with the title person, and they found out through the grapevine, like my favorite drink at that time was Mandarin vodka and Red Bull. And they knew I was going up to the cabin that weekend for to christen it. And they just had a bottle of Mandarin vodka Red Bull there. Like that's an example of a gift, right? So just building in like little, like if you want to do it this way, because the reason the 5 love languages works, in my opinion, is it's not to say that you're not going to dislike any of those love languages, right? You're not going to dislike a gift or words of affirmation or quality time or, any of those kinds of things. So that's why I want to hit all of those, and then make a note of which one they most reciprocated from, and then assign that love language to their account, right? So now over every year, you do something based on that love language, but I'll do all 5 of them in the first 90 days, because what's the other reason is we all believe in the law of attraction, right? They know other people just like them who are probably moving up in homes. Like, maybe they're going to have a kid, maybe they're going to have this, maybe they're going to have that, right? And so they're going to go ask those people. Again, you want to be that first person then that they think about. So to me, like words of affirmation would be after the deal is closed, after you leave the closing table, is you just call them and you congratulate them and you make them feel so good about buying that house and why that's going to be such a great investment long term. Because when does buyer's remorse set in for most people? Immediately, right? So even words of affirmation, just calling them and just saying, like, once again, I just want to thank you, but I also want to affirm, like, that was such an amazing property that you got, right? Just to get this out of the way, some of sales is corny and cheesy, okay? So some of these things are corny and cheesy, like that's part of being in sales when you're doing gratitudes or when you're doing quality time for me. Is I do church, charity, or community. All right. So if you find out somebody goes to the same church, and maybe again, this is assuming that's part of your life. Maybe you go with them one Sunday, right? You go together. That's quality time to me. Does that make sense? Or after church, you go spend time together. Community would just be, like you go do something you both enjoy outside in the community together. Maybe you invite them over to your back patio, so those are just, I went on and on, Nicole, like you asked me for one example, but those are the 5 love languages. Like you just kind of pick and choose all those different kinds of ways, and then you can implement them.
And then how many non-traditional connectors do you recommend?
Yeah, I wouldn't say nearly as many as the traditional. I would say 5 to 10.
Okay.
Not non-traditional. Perfect.
Yeah, that's our questions for right now.
Okay. So this would just be an exercise that I would ask each of you, like start building out and organizing your database into these categories. And then you can start automating your messaging, stuff like that. Okay. 3rd time block system. I know realtors love marketing tips. Okay. So third time block gets into your marketing development. And let me just first off say, I think most, again, solopreneurs, most real estate agents spend too much time on their marketing. I really, really do believe that. When you're brand new and you're like, I want my logo to be perfect, and I want this one sheet to be perfect, and I want my website to be perfect, and listen, I truly believe marketing is vital. It really is. To attract other people, we must become more attractive. But it's something that you just have to continually build out and get better and better and better at. The purpose of any business is to create a customer. Jim Drucker said that, right? So to me, the purpose is talking and calling on people. So when I first moved to Denver, I had a very basic website. I had a very basic business card, and I had a very basic booklet. That was all I had. And the rest was just me going out and talking to people and selling them on my energy and my confidence and my ability to solve their problems. Okay. So I want to start there because, again, like I was talking to one of my really good friends in Michigan who just got into real estate, and he's talking about building his own website through WordPress. And I'm like, dude, you should not be doing this. This is not a high value activity for you, right? Invest, like go to Fiverr. Have you guys ever heard of Fiverr? Fiverr. There's all kinds of websites like that where you can outsource these types of tasks. If you don't currently have like your database, or excuse me, your website and your perfect one sheet and your perfect logo and your perfect like outsource, you should not be doing those, in my opinion. Okay. Now, on a more micro daily level, let's get into the time block system for your marketing development. Number one, I said earlier, your gratitude messages. So when I talked about your personal development 10 minutes, that was more you practicing gratitude for your own personal self. Are you with me there? Like, what are you grateful for? Okay. The second part of gratitude, then I tie this to your marketing development, is actually practicing gratitude towards others, right? So maybe you're doing one or two handwritten notes. You're celebrating their successes. You're celebrating. That's why I love Facebook, is it constantly reminds you of life events that are going on in your life. Like just today, for instance, I had two of my lender buddies that we were golfing 4 years ago on this exact date. I screenshot it. I sent it to both of them. I haven't talked to either of them in like 6 months. What do they immediately say? Oh my God, we got to get back together. We've lost touch, right? Which is easy to do. So it's just like little things like that. I call that a gratitude message. I love you. I appreciate you. I miss you. Right. And if you're consistently doing that, again, in a authentic, genuine way, not a, hey, you're on my list of people to call today because my CRM said to do so. Right. It's more of like, I was thinking about you because this happened in my life, or I saw that this happened in your life, or Facebook popped up and it reminded me of this, so that is something that I consistently do. Now, I like to recommend doing this through Facebook for this reason. Nicole, you can't do this right now. So just joking. I recommend doing this through Facebook because of the algorithms. So Facebook algorithms basically say when you send somebody a Facebook message and they reply back, what is Facebook basically saying there? You guys are actually friends, right? There's some kind of interaction happening there. So a lot of times I'll send a video message through Facebook of just like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, or I love you, I appreciate you, whatever it might be, right? But it's sending a Facebook gratitude message that way. All right. Don't just do the generic happy birthday with like literally no substance behind it, on people's Facebook. I would say still do the happy birthday message, have one additional one-liner on there, but then also go a step further. And again, like I said, send them that little video or send them something that would be of value or relevant to them in the process. So I call these triggers. Anything that triggers me to think about somebody in that moment, I do it right then and there. I don't wait for my CRM to tell me to do it. Again, if it's a birthday or if it's an anniversary, that's one thing. But I love using triggers. Anything that makes me think about that person, that very moment, I will reach out to them, and I consider that a gratitude message. Okay. So that's one thing. Nicole, what kind of gratitude messages do you guys do as a team? And do you have help with it?
I do, but we have a system around it as well. I mean, we get the one-offs. I love just sending out random note cards if somebody said something or did something, but we also have the birthday wishes that we do on social. We send out thank yous when people go under contract and when they close. And so we have all that kind of built into our marketing. Yep. But then I love to just scroll through Facebook, which I can't do. I'm having little withdrawal, and seeing what people are doing. And I just get kind of jazzed up. And then I post it right there, or I write them a little note. I've got my assistant buying more new note cards. It's one of my favorites.
Perfect. And Nicole, let me add something. You had said something like scrolling through Facebook, and depending on how many friends you have if you have 5,000 friends, like you're not going to see all the things that you need to see on Facebook. Right. So to take this a step further, talking about the selling system that I just walked through, we got to slow down to speed up. Remember this. So I would recommend creating lists inside your Facebook as well. So you have a list of all your past clients. You have a list of all your connectors. You have a list of, all these different kinds of people that I'm talking about, because now you can be intentional even inside of Facebook and seeing what's going on in their lives. All right. So I take everything like a step further than what most people want to do. But I do think, like Nicole, again, it's going to be hard for you to sit down and slow down to do all that. So maybe you have somebody on your team, you give them access to your account for them to go through and do that. Now that gets into a slippery slope because now you're giving somebody access to your account. I do know that. Okay. But I do think it's a relevant thing for, like I want all of my top 25 advocates in a list inside of Facebook. So that way I know what's going on in their lives and I can look at that on my theme days. So again, if you follow theme days on that same Monday where you're doing a certain theme day activity, you get inside your Facebook and you're looking at what's going on in there. Multiplier activities. Business is all about multiplier activities. Right? Like these events, Nicole, you don't like, you want to educate and all that kind of stuff, but I'm sure this event, like posting this webinar, it's a multiplier for you because why? You get to leverage it in a lot of different ways. Right. And that's what you start to realize about all business is these are multiplier events for you within this process. I'll go through this one relatively quickly. I do once a day, I try to do a business, family, friends, or fun post. All right. So sometimes it's educational. Sometimes it's something that's going on in my nomad life. I have a lot of content, right? But same thing with you guys, like something about your business. I'm not saying every day, maybe once a week, something about your friends or your family or something fun once a day and just post it. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of you have heard of the book Go Giver. If you've heard of the book Go Giver, Sell More. Okay. So I borrow from that concept and I just say, I want you to be that go giver on social media. So this goes back into organizing those lists and then just engaging with people through your social media, right? Liking on their stuff, commenting on their stuff, sharing their stuff. And the algorithms are going to skyrocket because of that. So all of this is just about consistency, compound effect. Darren Hardy talks about this all the time, right? Like even for me, if I didn't do my 10 daily phone calls today, what does that mean I have to do tomorrow? I have to do 20, right? If my benchmark is 10 outbound calls per day, and I don't do any today. I have to do 20 tomorrow. And then I have 2 bad days. I have to do 30 the next day, right? So that's why compound effect is so vital to our long-term sustainable business. And that's why I teach the 4-hour workday is just, if you consistently show up in these areas 4 hours a day, intentionally, 80% of the time, you're going to be in that top 1%. I can promise you, if you just show up and do, these different activities in the process. And I know we're at time. I built in like these bonus slides, Nicole. Are there any questions? Because I do know a lot of people ask for like afternoon and how to handle firefighting and, all that kind of stuff.
We have been asking the questions as we go.
Okay.
So I don't have
any let's do it.
Yes. Oh, no. We don't have any more.
Oh, okay.
Asking them as we go. Sorry.
No, you're good. So again, 90-30 time block, 90 minutes on your personal development, your own self-care, which also feeds into your business anyways, if you look at it that way. 30 minutes on your database, 90 minutes on your professional development, which is your selling system, 30 minutes a day on your marketing activities. I want you to be proactive by noon. That's the mindset for us. Okay. And then what happens now in the afternoons? The afternoons are built to where you are a firefighter. All right. In the process. So like Nicole, you were having your definitions earlier and you're like your quotes, right? So yes. I kind of made up my own definitions for these terms. Firefighter, react to life-threatening situations to mitigate the damage, usually caused by a mistake from another person, right? So a lot of you have these things that happen in your business every single day. When I say life-threatening, because in the moment, what do you feel like? That deal is going to fall apart. Right. And if that deal falls apart, my life's going to fall apart, right? In the process. So I do understand that you're going to need times built in a day where you are firefighting. Now, my request here is if all you do is put out fires all day, every day, that's no way to live. You're going to be exhausted. And I'll give an example of this. 2 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to I had a self-care day built in. Okay. It was a Thursday morning. I was going to get a rental car from Fort Worth and drive to Austin. And about 30 minutes to an hour before getting in my rental car, I get a call from the company saying, we don't have a car for you. I'm like, excuse me, I got a meeting in 3 hours in Austin. I need a car. I'm like, so what's the solution here? We don't have a car. Like, do other rental car services have a car? And we don't have any in our area that have a car. So I have that fire that happens. Okay. In addition to that fire happening, simultaneously within 30 minutes, I get a call from my marketing company, and they tell me that my website is no longer available to me because they gave it to somebody else. Like, I don't know how this happens. So I have these two oh shit moments happen in 30 minutes together simultaneously on a self-care day, right? And what was my lesson I learned from that is those days are going to happen every once in a while. But I'll just say, if those days are happening every single day for the majority of your day, that's not an external problem. That's an internal problem. Are you with me there? That's not an external, like, things are happening in the universe that happen to me, and now I have to react to them. If those are happening consistently on a seemingly daily basis, then you have a systems breakdown problem. Okay. Now I do understand, again, especially Nicole, the amount of volume that you're doing, right, and the amount of files and all the things that are going on. You're going to have those things that are happening within the process. So I would recommend is kind of journaling, like, are there consistent days that this happens on? Are there consistent times of days that these happen on? All right. And then if there are those days, and that's where you build in, like, I need to firefight for 90 minutes on this day, on this week, consistently, right? As a professor, I used to call those open office hours. I would have to have open office hours because students would always have questions that they'd have to come into my office. But we encourage what we allow. And again, the Challenger sale says you have to be the expert. If you allow people to just at any given moment, they can call you at 2 a.m. Here's a story, Nicole, that you would appreciate. Again, on a different investment property that I had in Tennessee, another cabin in Gatlinburg. This is where I got emotional. Okay, so I got emotional on this property because I didn't think we were going to get closed. And I literally was calling my lender friend. She's like a $130 million producer. This was 7-8 years ago. Calling her on Saturday morning at 5:30 a.m. Not even realizing on my end. She's like, Bruce, thank goodness I love you, but why are you calling me at 5:30 a.m. on a Saturday, right? And so those are the things that I know you're dealing with every single day, every single week, every single month, right? So I would just strongly encourage you, again, on the front end with your client onboarding, it's vital for you to onboard your new clients and your current clients in a way to where they do respect your time and your energy, and that you're on the same team within the process, okay? But I do also know that fires are going to happen, but you have to consistently time block for those. Nicole, on your team, I'm kind of picking your brain, but what are things that you have built in for firefighting?
That's a great question. So yeah, because if the fires we have more of them. Well, we don't have more fires per se. We have more opportunity for things to happen. We have a very structured organization. Who has the information? Who is the information shared with? We have a couple of distribution lists. So Sam, my assistant, is on my email. So if something comes through and an agent needs something right away, or a client needs something right away, or an underwriter or whoever needs something right away, we know what the filter is, right? So who gets that request so that it's answered as promptly as possible. It also, like, we have a new client that needs a lender letter today because they're putting in an offer. We have a distribution list to figure out who's got the time capacity today. And then if it's a problem, then it's mine. That's my job as manager, is to solve any problems that come up. And we do such a great job of that. But so I think we structure it kind of more organized to how do we address fires so that nobody has their hair on fire. Everybody knows when this happens, do this.
Perfect.
It's calmer.
And that's great. And for all the real estate agents that are out there, then again, like, our whole goal for you is to not be a solopreneur, is to grow a team and have people on your team at some point. But early on, you're gonna have to firefight for sure. But you're gonna have to build out systems and processes that will allow you to hand that off to somebody on your team to help you with those fires, so that you could stay in your strength zone, which is, obviously calling on new people and all that kind of stuff. So again, I understand that fire is going to happen. All right. I just know that typically what's the first thing that goes to the wayside when a fire happens? Your personal development and your selling, right? Your sales within the process. So that's what we're trying to help you with within that. Okay. The second thing, the afternoon activities is there's a term in sales called boomerang calls. So when you're being proactive for 90 minutes a day on outbound conversations and you call somebody and you leave a voicemail, and let's just say that person happens to call you back. When that phone call comes back, that's the boomerang, right? You casted it out, you sent the voicemail with a text, it comes back to you. Make sure you answer that call. Make sure you answer that call. So that's one of those things I'll just say, like, common sense isn't common practice. I've learned in business and in life. All right. So that seems like a common sense thing, but when that outbound thing comes in, when that call comes in, are you making sure that you're taking that call? Even if you're just telling them, hey, I got 3 minutes to talk, they'll respect it. Okay. Lifestyle entrepreneur is a term that I learned about 3 years ago. And again, like talking about the 4-hour workday changing my life, this concept changed my life.
And Bruce, we have 4 minutes left.
Perfect. And this is the last one, so we're good. So just talking about, this lifestyle entrepreneur concept is the purpose of any business is to serve your life, not run/ruin your life. Okay. I want to give you all permission to, again, to be intentionally congruent in all these different areas, your personal development, your professional development, your marketing development, and your database development, so that you have more time to go do the things that you enjoy with the people who matter the most. And I've just seen that so many people will give their leftover energy, let's call those crumbs, to the people who matter the most. And that's what breaks my heart as a sales coach is I know how hard you guys work. I know how much good energy that you give to people who a lot of times don't even deserve it, right? It's the whole 80-20 rule. We give 80% of our time typically to the wrong 80% of the people, all right? You should be giving 80% of your time to 20% who really deserve it and need it. So once you start practicing all these things together, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you'll start to see how it's a compound effect. It's intentional congruence where you get to go do more of the things that you enjoy with the people who matter the most. And that is really where your business becomes fun and it serves your life versus runs your life. But it does take a lot of effort on the front end. Like this plan that I just went through, it's pretty simple on paper. I think everybody would agree with that, right? But there's those days you don't feel like doing it, that you're just lazy, that you're just whatever it is. All right. On a micro level, you find distractions. It's called creative avoidance, right? You find creative ways not to do the things that you know you should be doing on a micro level. So I really do hope that this 4-hour workday can help each of you, right? And just pick one area that you're deficient in right now that you think could help you in the long run. So Nicole, right on cue. I'll turn it back over to you. I appreciate it.
So I like creative avoidance better than lazy. I'm going to start using that one. I have 3 kids. So I know. Creative avoidance. Fantastic. So if you want to stop sharing your screen, we'll let everybody know that we recorded this live on YouTube. First time I've ever done that. Thank you to Ms. Carr for figuring out how to do that. I wanted to throw a little kiss my butt at Facebook. So I was like, fine, I'm just going to go to YouTube. So we put this on YouTube. It's a first of maybe it becomes more often. I want to make sure that we get the content out there because Bruce is fantastic and what a great place. So if you want to rewatch this video, not only will it be in our Agent Ignite Facebook group because Cara has access, not me, but it will also be on our YouTube channel where we do so much great content on a regular basis. We'll also have links to Dr. Bruce's website and his organization. He has phenomenal content and opportunities in his coaching and in his classes. I can't say enough, and you guys already know how great he is. So what a great intro into holding yourself accountable to doing those things that you know that creates an efficient process that provides you more success, right? Ultimately, we all want some level of success. You might not want to be number one, but you might want some level. And why not make the time you spend getting there more efficient? Then you have more free time. Makes sense.
Just show up and hit play every single day in your life. Good things are going to happen.
Love it. I mean, I have a book and it looks the same every day and it's formatted the same and I work through my stuff the same and I wake up at the same time and it produces results and it makes me feel better because I know I did it. I get to check a lot of boxes, which also makes my heart happy. But Bruce, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. Everybody will make sure that you know how to get in touch with him. If you have any questions or if you're working this weekend, please know that so am I and my team. We're here to support you and your clients getting to the closing table. We love what we do, and Bruce and I are here to support you in any way. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Cara, too, for all your help.